Okay, in this tutorial we're going to look at how to create a sketch and turn it into a 3D object. So sketch is our sort of drawings and designs. So if we go sketch, create sketch, we're first going to choose which plane to work on. So you can see I'm just going to work on the top down, which is sort of the X and Z axis. We've got X and Y axis, and then the Z and Y axis. When I first click on it, it rotates around and we can see we're working on the top. In the sketch we've got a whole bunch of different tools. So I can draw a rectangle, I can sketch out other shapes, like let's put a center point circle starting on this corner, and I can set a dimension to that, typing in the dimension, pressing the D key, and then highlight that dimension. And we can actually modify that. So let's say I got that wrong, I can change that now to a 20. If I want to draw my own shapes, I can use the line tool. So what we're going to have is sort of a bit of a shape coming in like this. It will generally snap to a grid, and you can tell we've got an enclosed shape by the fact that it's sort of got this peachy apricot center. We can also, with a sketch, they don't have to be completed lines, we can just draw individual lines, hit escape just to cancel, and note these different sections will sort of highlight and then they become blue when we've got different components. Now let's look at this line right here. Let's say I wanted that to be 90 degrees. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and select both of those lines. So press the D key, when I press shift and put those, I can now actually put in some degrees. So I'm going to force that to be 90 degrees, so constraining it, and everything else sort of changes. So we can see these ones here are currently constrained to be 90 degrees. If I go and add anything else, it's going to overwrite that 90 degrees, so I can actually force that to be different dimensions if I wanted to. But we're just going to leave that out for now. So I've got, once I've finished my sketch, I'm going to hit stop sketch and it returns back to the original view. Now each of these little areas, because this is all one sketch at once, I'm just going to highlight this one area and I'm going to make it into a 3D shape. So I'm going to go modify, press pull and drag that shape up. Now if I hit the OK, everything else disappears, because once you've made a 3D shape, it assumes that sketch has been entirely used up. So if I want to make it visible again, I can click on the little light bulb, and now I can actually do the same with these other little shapes. Now, thing to remember when you're creating a shape, I would always recommend choosing a new component that is essentially a piece. So I've got a new component here. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to drag this around, grab just this section, press pull that one, and spin it around just so I can see it a bit easier. Drag that one up. Now, I can either make that its own component or join it together. There are other options, like I can use it to cut holes if I needed to. So I'm going to join that together. So now we, as far as that component is concerned, that's all one section. Now, we have this other body here that if I want to turn that into its own component, I can go create, new component. Now if I do an empty component, or if I want to do from bodies, I can go and select one of those bodies that exists and turn it into a new design. Now, at the moment, this component's not actually active. That's why it's a bit see-through. So if I want to activate it, click on the little dot there, and that is now visible. If I want to see the whole thing, go back to the main part of the menu, and we can see that whole component. Any changes I make to that sketch, so if I go onto the sketch, go right click, edit sketch, so let's say that line was in the wrong place, I'm going to press M to move it, and decide that it should be up there, hit stop sketch, and we can note that design has actually changed. Now I can also move whole components by pressing the M key. If I drag those in, they sort of overlap. Now, if I wanted to do something with these, I might decide, okay, that component, we actually want to use it as like a little cookie cutter. I'm going to combine them. Just going to select the first shape, now what you'll actually notice is I've got the two different shapes selected. It's got the join, I can use it to cut a hole in it, so you can sort of see that red is the area, the other shape that overlaps, that's going to be used to cut. I can also get the intersection, which will only leave the parts that are overlapped. And hit OK, that just leaves that little section behind. So we've done a really quick introduction to basic sketches and combining different shapes.